Hi guys, Monero Mateo. This is an urgent video. I was supposed to actually release a video today about Bitcoin washing, the liquid network that they're coming out with, and the ways that people in the Bitcoin community are trying to make Bitcoins private and anonymous and things like that. I did a video on that. Turns out Monero is again the winner, and you can watch that tomorrow to see how that is. But this is a urgent video that we need to come out with today because it's like if you've watched my videos over the last week, you've been so ahead of the curve. And again, because of the news that we're about to go through, Monero is spiking, the privacy sector is booming, and yeah, people are starting to actually wake up to what's happening. And this is happening sooner than I thought. I thought it would take people a little bit longer, to be honest with you. But there's been such a noticeable change in attitude over the last week because of this infrastructure bill and because of some other things happening in the world. Like the grips of tyranny are seriously getting tight. And just looking at what's going on in Australia, I was having dinner with an Australian friend of mine last night, Jesse. Shout out to Jesse. He's starting a new crane company, by the way. So if you guys need any crane work to be done in the Southeast United States, please get in contact with me. I can forward you to him. But the tyranny is getting crazy. It's getting absolutely crazy. And if you look at my previous videos, you would think that I'm some kind of sage or something. Maybe I work for the government or, something like this, because what we're about to go through, you're going to be like, how did you predict all of this? How were you just so spot on? And it's like, no, it's not that I really predicted this as much as I just knew we were going, because I knew where tyranny was going. And I could just extrapolate with my own mind what it is that they were going to do to try to squelch freedom. And given that crypto is sort of like a bridge out of this totalitarian network that is trying to envelop and encompass everybody, I knew it was only a matter of time before they tried to clamp down and, capture everybody into it. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of people were blinded by the gains. A lot of people were, unaware of the tentacles that were coming from the depths from the deep state to try to put a stop to all of this stuff. But nevertheless, I've been trying to keep you guys ahead of the curve. So we're going to jump into this. This is an email that I actually got from Kraken yesterday. So it says the U.S. Senate is beginning its final deliberations on a must-pass bipartisan infrastructure bill. However, you feel about the bill, a few senators have included language having nothing to do with infrastructure. Go figure. And this language could crush the crypto industry. If passed and signed into law, this bill would dramatically expand U.S. government surveillance over the entire crypto ecosystem. And so there are a couple senators filing amendments to try to fix this language. So we're going to get to the first video here from Zero Hedge. And Zero Hedge, for the last year, I've been reading them forever, but the general consensus was that regulation would be good. And the more regulation, the more adoption by pensions, by retirement accounts, by governments maybe, and all this stuff would lead to massive, massive gains. But now there's been a change of sentiment, because I think we're starting to realize that, even if they do try to sign infrastructure, if it's well-meaning, it's going to be too vague, and they may sign into place bills with language that actually hamper the capacity for the crypto sphere to grow and to breathe and to innovate, which legislation typically does. It typically kills innovation, and it typically creates a few stagnated market leaders in the industry, because then you have barriers of entry into the industry because you have to sign a whole bunch of things and, stuff like that. You have to abide by a whole bunch of things. Same thing that happened in the oil industry, big tech. You get a few market leaders, things get regulated and officiated, and then they stay there forever because they're able to take advantage of the markets that they're into before regulation clamped down on it and made it difficult to innovate and to create. And so they just kind of stick around, right? And that seems to be what is happening now. We warned over the weekend that things just got ugly for crypto in Washington, D.C., as the government aimed to partially cover the costs of its massive infrastructure bill by taxing crypto companies, and the entire industry will feel it. This is not a drill, writes Jake Chervinsky, an influential crypto lawyer, in a sober voice in a hype-prone industry. In a must-read Twitter thread, Chervinsky explains that the $550 billion bill, which is primarily about roads and bridges, could shiv American crypto companies. Yeah, and they look to raise a whole bunch of taxes. We talked about that a lot this week. Again, I'm a tax accountant. I could give you guys some insights as to how a lot of this stuff works. The trouble is that the bill defines broker, a term normally used to describe the likes of Coinbase and Robinhood, as basically any business that touches crypto. So if I trade to you crypto, if I'm a miner that mines crypto, if I'm a company that takes in crypto for a payment, with this new bill, you could be defined as a broker. And there are significant implications to that, which we're about to get to. The uproar in the crypto industry sparked a bipartisan amendment which would defang the cryptocurrency provision. Well, hopefully it happens. Hopefully it happens. And so they're trying to make it with this amendment that they define what a broker is. So if you validate distributed ledger transactions, that is to say, if you are a miner or if you are a staker, you are not a broker selling hardware or software. So like those little USB drives that you could store your cryptocurrency on, that hopefully you wouldn't be defined as a broker developing digital assets. So if you're a software engineer, you wouldn't want to be defined as a broker either. The current bill defines all those people as brokers, and they're trying to make an amendment which does not allow that to happen. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong joined the debate yesterday, urging crypto market participants to reach out to their representatives over the overreaching surveillance and disclosure requirements of the hastily put together, ill-conceived new infrastructure bill's crypto-based pay-fors. Yep. And we've seen this coming. Again, if you're in privacy coins, you're ahead of the curve. If you're subscribed to this channel, you're even that much more ahead of the curve. Armstrong went on to note that Coinbase is happy to help customers fulfill tax obligations, just like the rest of the financial services industry, issuing 1099s and things like this. But the bill defines brokers to include anyone who effectuates transfers of digital assets. That means almost anyone in the ecosystem, miners, validators, smart contracts, open source developers, could be treated as broker with massive reporting obligations. And if you don't meet those reporting obligations, which we'll get to in a little bit, massive penalties, massive potential for trouble. This makes no sense. I disagree. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And even if they didn't mean to do this on purpose, a lot of people in Congress now who are bought off by the banks, who are part of the new globalist New World Order system, they could look at this now and be like, wow, we really did a great job with this bill because it's going to destroy the crypto industry, or at least hamper it for a little while before they move offshore to somewhere else to extend their developments. But then we're going to get to this later. FATCA, if you don't know anything about FATCA, it's basically the overseas foreign IRS arm, which enforces tax law of the United States across the world. And so if you're still a U.S. citizen, if you're still a bank which banks U.S. citizens, you're going to be caught up in all of this stuff. And so that could make it hard for developers all over the world, right? Smart contracts, for instance, are not companies and cannot be modified to collect know your customer info or issue 1099s. They are simply software running on the blockchain that anyone can use. So, pretty bearish stuff. The infrastructure bill also imposes sweeping and unprecedented reporting requirements that will force exchanges like Coinbase and others to surveil its customer transactions in a way that is more intrusive than the rest of traditional finance. So this is also something we talked about. Let's make sure we're still recording. This is something else we talked about. I'd have to look into specifically what those reporting requirements are and what the surveillance stuff is alluding to. But I imagine what it is they're going to track your payments. They're going to track where it is you're sending the crypto off your wallet. And yeah, all that stuff, right? They're going to want more information on you. They're probably going to want more information as to where it is you're going to be sending your cryptocurrency, who owns the wallet that you're sending the cryptocurrency if you're trying to take it off the exchange. All we ask for is an even playing field. That's not going to happen, especially as they come out, the central bank digital currencies. Policymakers play a critical role in ensuring that tech innovation can flourish in the United States. Yeah, yep. We also need to ask the senators to remove language requiring sweeping surveillance of crypto holders. Uh, look, anything could happen, but if I was a betting man, I don't think that's going to happen. And look, the surveillance is already significant. Okay? Like we were just going through this yesterday, like there was somebody on the dark web who was running a Bitcoin mixing service, and the government went through 10 years of blockchain records to figure out where it is this guy was, where it is he was hosting out of, and he got arrested. Dark web, Bitcoin mixing stuff, like you would think this guy was the king of keeping a secret, keeping private, and they found him. So there's already a lot of surveillance. This could make it worse. So this is another article. While the language is still evolving, the proposal would seek to expand the definition of broker, as we talked about, to include anyone who is responsible for and regularly providing any service effectuating transfer of digital assets for somebody else. These newly defined brokers, again, which could be anybody transferring cryptocurrencies, would be required to comply with IRS reporting requirements for brokers, including filing Form 1099s to the IRS. That means they would have to collect user data, including users' names and addresses. So, again, we talked about this earlier this week. So if they start to make it so you have to report who it is you're sending your crypto to off of your wallet, which at some point you're going to have to register with the government. You're going to have like an officiated Bitcoin wallet that's yours. And if you transfer out of that wallet your Bitcoin, they may ask you, hey, who are you transferring to? Because you're a broker. And so you have to make a report. And if you transfer over $600, presumably, that triggers the necessity to file a Form 1099 for those people and then submit it to the IRS. So it turns into a Soviet-like system where everyone's reporting each other. And if you don't comply, as we just talked about with that guy who got arrested, they'll figure out who you are because it's a public blockchain. Everything is kept on record forever. So, I mean, people have to wake up to this stuff, man. This is why we love privacy coins. This is why I think they're just going to go nuclear. The broad, confusing language leaves open a door. And look, this is another thing about the government. When it comes to broad, confusing language which is vague, okay? Again, yeah, as they say, it leaves open a door for almost any entity within their view to be either in compliance with the law or not compliance with the law. And if they don't like you, and we're going into a system very quickly now where there are the ones who are with us and the ones who are against us. Things are becoming very tribal. And so if you are a political dissident, if you're an enemy of the state, or so they consider you to be so, if the law is very vague, they could easily wrap you up into that. And they have all the documentation on the public blockchain to make that happen. Right? And, even if you can make the case because it's open, you can discuss it in court, you still have to go to court. And the way that tax law works is you have to pay your tax. So if they put upon you a crazy, ridiculous tax fee, and if you don't file these reports, maybe there are just ridiculous amounts of penalties that you have to pay as a result of that. You have to pay all that before you even see a day in tax court. And then maybe you could get some of that stuff back from the IRS. But, then you're going to have to pay fees to be in the tax court, legal fees, stuff like this, right? So they could just completely go lawfare on you. And look at Roger Stone. Look at how he was destroyed with legal fees, completely taken out. Now he's broke, basically. He didn't do anything wrong as far as I could tell, but yet they destroyed his life because they got him caught up in courts because of some vague thing he did against the law. And you see this all the time. Like, look at what happened, I think, with Michael Flynn, where he got accused of violating the Logan Act, which, as far as I'm concerned, happens all the time, but it's selectively applied. Again, to political enemies, to political dissidents. Look at Paul Manafort. He broke the FARA law, the Foreign Activity Reporting something, where you have to report if you're lobbying for foreign entities, which happens all the time in Congress, but yet they got him for it. They selectively charged him because he was not going with the program. And so if you're not going with the program, they could selectively apply these vague laws with confusing language, which make it hard for you to comply with, and that could be seriously dangerous for you. Just more things to think about, guys. This is serious business. It could even potentially implicate miners, those who confirm and verify blockchain transactions. The mandate to collect names, addresses, and transactions of customers means almost every company, even tangentially related to the cryptocurrency, may suddenly be forced to surveil their users. Again, so very Soviet stuff. Everyone's going to have to be reporting each other. So what started out as like a totally decentralized thing, people are purchasing things off the dark web anonymously with Bitcoins and things like this. Now it's being turned into this crazy totalitarian panopticonical surveillance system. Who could have seen that coming? It's crazy. If they pass this, that is perhaps the world we're going into. And who's going to want to be using these currencies if you've got all that going on? Maybe you have to consult lawyers, you have to consult tax accountants like me to even just get involved into the space. If you just want to open up a wallet, if you want to start transacting with people, who's going to want to do that? How would this work in practice is still very much an open question. Indeed, perhaps this extremely broad interpretation was not even the intent of the drafters of this language, but given the rapid timeline for the bill's likely passage, those answers may not be resolved. Well, so they have an amendment, so we'll see what happens with that. The proposal is buried in the bill. The argument is that by engaging in more regular surveillance of the cryptocurrency community, the Biden administration will see more tax revenue flow in this community without actually increasing the taxes. Well, he is increasing the taxes. He's increasing the top rate for long-term capital gains from 20% to 40%. Already tacked on with 3.8% net investment income tax. So you're going to be paying 43% if you make over $1 million a year, which a lot of these people in crypto are, especially if crypto continues to go through the roof. Especially, oh my lord, and we talk about this all the time, like unrealized capital gains taxes. Like if they pass this bill and did unrealized capital gains taxes, the cryptocurrency sector would be destroyed. Just completely nuked. At least in America, it would be. You'd want to go somewhere else. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, just if your cryptocurrencies went up $1 million in value, you could be paying half of that, which means you'd have to sell a lot of your cryptocurrencies in order to pay those bills, which would be incredibly bearish for crypto. Basically, it's presuming that huge swaths of cryptocurrency users are engaged in mass tax avoidance without providing any evidence of that. I mean, look, you can find a lot of evidence on the Bitcoin blockchain. And comparing that with people's filings that they make for the year, they could probably dig up a lot of evidence. Make no mistake, there is clear and substantial harm in ratcheting up financial surveillance and forcing more actors within the blockchain ecosystem to gather data on users. This would create more honeypots of private information about cryptocurrency users that could attract malicious actors. So we did this yesterday, or we actually did this in the video that's going to come out tomorrow. We checked out some people who just post their Bitcoin address in order to donate, or in order to accept donations. Like they put their Bitcoin address in the comments and in the description of their videos. And you could take that Bitcoin address, you could put it into a website, and you can see how much Bitcoin is in their wallet right at this very moment. And one of the people we looked at, like, he had taken in $50 million of Bitcoin from donations just in that one wallet. And so, you know, malicious actors, if people start to figure out how much money you have, and you can just see how much money people have just walking around, that definitely increases the threat assessment on people. You know what I mean? You figure out somebody has $50 million, it's like, well, I wonder how much money we could get out of him or maybe his family if they have the code to his wallet. You know, lots of risks. More legal complexity for software creators and others who do not custody cryptocurrency for their users to implement cumbersome surveillance systems. Furthermore, it is impossible for miners and developers to comply with these reporting requirements. So would the miners just stop? In our Monero and Bitcoin video that we did a couple days ago, because of the Chinese crackdowns on the Bitcoin miners over there, you have a lot of Bitcoin miners coming here to Texas and to Florida. And so with these new requirements, are they just going to move somewhere else now? What's that going to do to the hash rate? What's that going to do with the network? And it's not like every single miner is going to go to El Salvador, right? And even then, El Salvador is within the constraints and grips of FATCA. And we talked about FATCA a little bit. Let's just go ahead and pull that up so you guys understand what I'm talking about. The Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. Okay, we're just going to do Investopedia. They typically have good descriptions of things. The FATCA Act is a tax law that compels U.S. citizens at home and abroad to file annual reports on any foreign account holdings. So if you're a broker, you're a miner in a foreign country, you still have to file the reports. As far as I understand. So this is just another thing that they snuck into a nice sounding bill, which you would think would help the country. Kind of like the Patriot Act. Remember where, I think in the Patriot Act, don't quote me on this, but I think they took away liability for a lot of pharmaceutical companies involved in producing vaccines. So just an interesting side note on that. FATCA seeks to eliminate tax evasion by American individuals and businesses that are investing, operating, earning taxable income abroad. While it is not illegal to control an offshore account, failure to disclose the account is considered illegal. Since the United States taxes all income and all assets of its citizens on a global scale, what should be reported under FATCA? Foreign pensions, foreign stock holdings, all this stuff, right? Foreign institutional compliance. Non-U.S. foreign financial institutions and non-financial foreign entities are also required to comply with this law by disclosing the identities of U.S. citizens and the value of their assets held in their banks to the IRS or to the FATCA intergovernmental agreement. And FIs that do not comply with the IRS will be excluded from the U.S. market and have 30% of any of the amount of any withholdable payment deducted and withheld from them as a tax penalty. Right, so you guys are beginning to see the issue here, right? If an entity does not file this and does not comply, they will be subject to penalties. $10,000. And an additional penalty of $50,000 if the guilty party continues not to file after IRS notification. So, yeah. And a 40% penalty for understating tax attributable to non-disclosed assets. So, with a lot of this crypto stuff, you don't even know how much tax you're supposed to be paying, especially if you're a miner and you just have this stuff continuously coming in. You may understate it, and if that happens, 40% penalty. So, yeah, the grips are closing in, right? I mean, the cryptosphere should pray that they can get this amendment passed, because if it doesn't pass, oh my goodness. But even then, I really think that they're trying to make their move, because they don't want you to get out of their tyranny. And if this is a way out of their tyranny, they're going to clamp it down however they see fit. And this article had discussed how this may be an accident. Maybe they didn't know enough about the sector. But now that they see the crypto space freaking out about this to the extent that they are, maybe they're like, yeah, we should definitely pass this, because this is awesome. It's going to destroy the crypto sector. You know, Elizabeth Warren hates the crypto sector, and other members of Congress like her. And so this could actually incentivize them to pass the bill how it is. But we'll see what happens, right? Let's read a little bit more. So this is talking about how it is they want the provision to be modified. The Senate should act swiftly to modify or remove this dangerous provision. Getting cryptocurrency regulation right means ensuring an opportunity for public engagement and nuance. Like they care about that. You guys remember when Jerome Powell came out like a month ago and he was talking about the CBDC, the new Fed coin they're coming out with? And he was like, we would like to hear from you. If you have any ideas in regards to how we can make our central bank cryptocurrency, which is going to make inflation go through the roof because they're just going to send it directly to people. If you have any ideas about how we can best issue this and how, it could be better suited to your lifestyle, please let us know. As if they care. You think the Fed cares? You think the government cares about public engagement? And the breakneck timeline for the infrastructure bill leaves no chance for either. So, more stuff going on. This might be the last article we read. There are a few more articles I want to read, but I feel like we've covered this pretty good. And as far as I'm concerned, if it does pass under the law proposed in the infrastructure bill, this reporting requirement wouldn't take effect until 2024, which is a good thing. So people still have time to say their final words to their beloved Bitcoin and to their beloved public blockchains, and to, perhaps take a divergent road not popularly taken into the privacy coin sector. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. There are a couple things that I wanted to note in this article, if I remember right. But I feel like most of this we've talked about, as I've explained in a prior article. Information reporting requirements are quite onerous, and the penalties for the failure to comply with those requirements are incredibly stiff. So, I feel like we've gone through enough of this. If you guys want to read through this more, you are good to do that. If the proposed legislation is passed, with or without the proposed amendment, individuals and entities who receive funds connected with cryptocurrency transactions will have necessarily questions about whether their conduct arises to the threshold of information reporting, which means more compliance costs because information reporting penalties are so high, and taxpayers must pay them in full in order to contest them in court. As we talked about before, taxpayers may err on the side of reporting rather than risk information reporting penalties applicable for reporting shortfalls. And again, if you're a Bitcoin miner, if you are a public cryptocurrency miner of any kind, and you're looking at this stuff, why would you not go mine Monero? If you're a criminal and you're somebody who is looking to operate illegally out of the system, which I can't recommend. I never recommend anyone do anything illegally, as much as I love privacy coins. Just keep that in mind. Why wouldn't you, if you were to operate illegally, just mine Monero and just not have to worry about all this stuff? Right? You don't have to worry about the taxes. You don't have to worry about the reporting requirements. You don't have to worry about regulation. So, just some thoughts. Thank you, Guinevere, for the article. Who wrote this article? Rainey Reitman from Electronic Frontier Foundation. Thank you. And I think Tyler Durden wrote this one. So, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Let's go full screen. So, yeah, they're coming after the crypto sphere, and it's happening sooner than I thought, but we knew this was coming. If you are a subscriber to this channel and you've been watching our videos, which have been coming out over the last week like a firestorm, then I think you're ahead of the curve and you understand that all this was coming and it's still yet to come. As far as I'm concerned, the regulations are going to get even worse because tyranny is growing all over the place. I can barely keep up with it. I mean, you guys read the news. It's getting crazy. It's getting absolutely crazy. And anything that allows you to get to anything resembling a promised land or a land of freedom and opportunity and prosperity, they want to take away from you. They want to get that out of your sights. And my imagination is if the government cannot judo flip Bitcoin to get on their side and these public blockchains and cryptocurrencies in order to surveil the population, in order to get more leverage on the population, in order to take more freedoms from the population, they're just going to get rid of it, and they're going to regulate it out of existence. They're going to tax it out of existence, or they may just ban it, as they're working on in India, as they're working on in China. And India is already trying to ban cash. They're trying to ban cryptocurrencies. China's getting rid of cryptocurrencies because they're coming out with the digital yuan. In Venezuela, they're coming out with their digital currency as well. We'll see how that's going to affect the digital currency sector over there, the cryptocurrency sector. I imagine they're probably going to crack down on cryptos there too, right? So just developments that are happening. Again, this is Monero Mateo. We love privacy coins. Again, Monero fixes this. You see a lot of people on the social media webs, they're like, Bitcoin fixes this. When no, it's like, Monero truly fixes this. What people think they're in regards to Bitcoin and public blockchains, in many cases, is actually Monero. Monero is fast. Monero is private. Monero is cheap to transact. Monero is amazing to mine. You can mine it on your laptop. It is an awesome, awesome, awesome cryptocurrency. I think it's the best one out there. Look at Pirate Chain 2. Look at Darrow. Darrow is something that's amazing. It is the privatized version, basically, of Ethereum. You can do smart contracts. You can do a lot of stuff like that. And I think these sectors, just based on this information and everything we've talked about over the last week, are going to go absolutely nuclear sometime over the next 2 to 3 years. And with everything going on, I hope there's still a planet 2 to 3 years from now, because it's really getting freaky. Like, I'm telling you what, I mean, I'm not going to talk about some of the other stuff. I don't want to get mixed up in it. This is a video just about this cryptocurrency development. You have other people working on the other developments, which are frightening, but this is what's happening. And look, I'd like to hear you guys' comments. I'd like to hear you guys discuss this in the chat, in the comment section. I'd like to leave some comments too if you guys have anything that I can respond to. Again, this is Monero Matt. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Gab. Twitter is really rocking. I'm posting a lot of good stuff. Like the video, please. It gets me up in the algorithms. More people can listen to this critical and vital information. Again, tomorrow I'm coming out with a video on Bitcoin laundry services, on the Liquid network, which aims to make Bitcoin transactions private, and why it is that these are, again, inferior to Monero and our beloved privacy coins. So stick around for that. Subscribe to the channel. Our channel is growing, which is awesome. And that is all I have to say. This is Monero Mateo. Have a good one.